Hello, Sagittarius. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. Apollo here. Wanted to wish everybody a little bit of love and light as well. As you know, we're going to be looking at the month of November. We'll be looking for sun, rising, and moon. I welcome cross-watching. You can also watch on behalf of someone that you love. And I'm really excited. There's a lot of messages that came through. This little guy down. I'm going to show you a quick screenshot of it here, or as quick a view of it here. Today, there's a lot of energy about changing and moving, and also kind of ideation or brainstorming. So for those of you that are trying to do something new with like school or business, or just trying to find a new path, a lot of energy around that came through. So I can't wait to share it. Let me talk a little bit about what's going on and give you a proper introduction. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and every month I like to show up to give you a roadmap, basically show you what the possibilities are, and empower you to make the best decisions that you can for what you need. And we're going to be looking at four major parts here, the way that I organize it. I begin with the channeled messages. These come through dreams, meditations, and also as I select the deck and meditate, additional messages come through. Then I like to use the cards to basically help navigate a little bit further. We'll use a Celtic Cross in just a few moments. And then I like to expand it to health, wealth, love, and destiny. That way the Celtic Cross takes whatever focus it needs to, and we still hit on those major areas that I know everybody cares about. After that, I do a quick review, and then we go into the soul path, where we might look at a few of the main issues that present themselves over the course of the reading, and we can get some clarity. And then at the very end, everything is integrated through a meditation and also through a little bit of a sound bowl, sound bath. So more to come on all of that. Let's get into these messages here. Actually, one quick note before I do that, I always like to welcome my moderators, Ryan and Maria. If you have any high-level questions, they're happy to answer those and kind of point you in the right direction. Also, I just want to talk a little bit about how I deal with questions, namely that I don't. This is a general reading. Next month, I've been alluding to it, I'll have an event coming up where there'll be a chance to ask questions about something else that I'm working on, and more to come on that. But with this, it's basically going to be focused on a general reading for the sign. If you want to show support, the way Super Chat works, however, is it's still a great way to say hello. You can send a sticker, you can send some words of support, but I don't take questions throughout the reading. So I just wanted to hit upon that first. All right. So as I said, I receive messages in a couple of ways. Some of it before I show up here, some of it the night before, or the 2 nights before a reading, because I set an intention for the sign, and then I start to receive a lot of messages, and it's kind of interesting how that's worked this year. What the guide showed me for you today was a goldfish in a bag, kind of like when you're a kid and you go to a fair and you win one of those, or if you go to a store and you buy a fish. I haven't had a fish in years, but when I was a kid, I think I had a goldfish a couple times. And the way that I was kind of interpreting it is we, or you or me, we were all that goldfish. And I started to, the guides were showing me that we were being taken somewhere better, but I tried to kind of feel the energy out about what it would be like to be in that bag. So I feel like some of us are just looking for breathing room. You can't leave a fish in that bag too long, because it starts to, the oxygen gets used up. So for some of us, we just feel like this year has kind of been suffocating us on different levels, because we haven't been able to maybe reach out, explore the things that we normally would. And we're kind of in this bag waiting to be carried to the next location. Some of us are missing family, because my guides whispered to me, they're taking the fish to a bigger sea, or back to the family, back to the sort of school of fish. Some of us are missing school or work. And so all of that stuff was kind of being eluded by a very powerful and simple symbol of that goldfish. That displacement was the key thing, though, because it had been taken out of something and it's being moved around in this bag, looking around thinking, where am I? And if we could get a bumper sticker for this year, it is, where am I? What's going on? And that's kind of what the guides want you to experience. I have very interesting and pushy guides sometimes, where if I'm stuck in my life, they'll do something like push me over, and I end up like, breaking a bone or a nose or something like that. And they're like, you need to move on now. You've waited too long. So I feel like all of us got a taste of that medicine this year, which it was sort of like, it's time to move on. We're going to move you to the next zone. So let me summarize what I've seen here, and I have some good news here in just a second here. So I was shown the image of a goldfish in a plastic bag. Some of us are looking to, when I say breathing room, it's sort of like, are you in a relationship or a job where you feel sort of symbolically suffocated? Because this year has sort of brought that to the forefront, where in the past you would be distracted and maybe keep letting something like that go, where you can't now because you're seeing that person every day, or if you're in a job and it's going nowhere, you're feeling that sense of frustration, especially if you're working off-site, because there's no interaction, there's no office, a water cooler or anything like that. Some of us just feel like we're in limbo, and it's sort of like, how do I get control over this? How can I change the environment? Okay, what if we're being collectively lifted to a better energetic state, and we're also being lifted out of habits that are no longer serving us? For those of you watching this live, we're in retrograde. We'll be in retrograde until about the 3rd of November. So as November kicks off, again, we're reading for November, you're going to hopefully be at a place where you're already kind of lifted into a higher energy. And I want you to start to see that this is a catalyst. I have a catalyst card in my spread that I'll be looking at in a moment, but this is the catalyst. 2020 is what we thought might have happened with 2000, when there was all that stuff about Y2K, and then maybe like 2012, the end of that, what was it, the Aztec calendar or whatever, Mayan calendar. But now is when the real energetic shift and wave has happened. It's 2020. We're almost through this year, which is why I think they were showing me that bag being lifted and carried somewhere else. It's time, 2021, 2022. This is where things start to get into something more interesting. So it's time right now for change in one or more key areas: work, home, relationship, and maybe even just your general life purpose. Either a realignment to it if you were doing something that wasn't that, or a discovery of something new that your soul wants to explore or express in this lifetime. Then I was shown a seed kind of pushing through the ground for sunlight. And what you have to remember when you're that little seed is that there is light. You just can't always see it. It's kind of instinct and programming, genetic programming, really on a sort of like cellular level, that tells that seed to push up on some levels. And then it's an activation, like the water, that kind of opens up the external shell and gets in there and starts to activate the cells. And then roots go down, and then it's like, we got to go this way. So we have to go up. We're the goldfish being moved, we're the seed pushing through. And those are the two signs that the guides were showing me visually, which were kind of cool. And I really like the seed portion of it as well, because that shows me that what we're kind of entering into is an ace year. And it is, because there's a 1 in 2021. So we went from basically the 0 year right now into a 1. So everything was a mess. Everything was it was hard to put your feet down, or your roots down rather, because of that active energy. So just imagine we're going from like full energy into ace energy. And that's why it's important to figure out who you are, where you're going, what you want, how you feel, and really get your head on straight, which brings me into the next piece of information. So then my guides showed me, and it was kind of invasive. I felt someone kind of like putting a hand almost into my head, but they put it on top, and I could hear their voice and they could hear mine. It was like telepathy. But I also felt like they were kind of fishing around in my head for information. So part of that can be reaching for clarity. Some people may be intuiting, putting their third eye there, and it's kind of like fly fishing. They're trying to figure out what's going on here. I've never fly fished, by the way, but that's also what they're showing me, is kind of like fishing for information. People right now are interested in what you have to say. This is a good time to express yourself. They may also, I put it in smaller text, they may also know about what your plans are. So if you think you're being really coy, you're not. There might be more transparency, or they may be very intuitive. And so it's important to make sure that, especially if you have something that's worth protecting, that you're doing your best to get a patent or get some legal protection. And then also just be, I think I put it down here, but be discerning about who you're partnering up with overall, what you're sharing with people. But back to the seed, back to the ace. It's a really good time for new beginnings, for planting those seeds, and to find a way to express and grow. So if you're retired, this is just a chance to start a new chapter and try something new, maybe go back to school or volunteer or do something that really matters to you. If you're mid-career, everything that I've been talking about so far is really about taking the wheel and turning it in a different direction. The guides have lifted you up and they're trying to move you onto a better path, or you need to get further along. Something about the direction or the velocity is off. And November is a reset. And it's really important over this last quarter of the year to get in that right direction. So as you enter into 2021, things start to go into a better sort of speed. It starts to feel better, and you're basically really taking advantage of all of the sort of material that came through us this year. It's been a rough year, but we've learned a lot, and I feel like we're being set up for better days ahead. Like that seed pushing through the dirt, you have to keep reaching for the light. Okay. So the other thing that I saw now, this was more of a cautionary note, but it's also a cool thing. So in tarot, for me, the moon is a very powerful symbol. It's key to your emotional side, your instincts, basically. Beyond your sort of intuitive side, there's basically this survival mode that kicks in with the moon. That's why you'll see like a domesticated dog and a wolf on that card. So sometimes we're being challenged to just do what feels right. And so when I see the moon, it's about all of those primal things that have kept us alive for, millennia. So there's the creative side, but there's also fear and emotional stuff that can come through this as well. And today it's a combination of all of these. So I saw an object crash into the moon's surface. I don't know if it was a ship. I don't know if it was an asteroid. I don't know what it was. I felt like I was going straight into the moon, and I felt the impact. So literally, we can take that at face value and say you have a chance to really make a big impact this month, particularly creatively. That's the little word there. So that's a cool thing. You can make a splash, if you will. And with it being the moon, it's powerful, it's emotional. It could really be something that resonates with people. However, the other thing that they showed me, and I literally kind of saw it's almost like a toddler or something, having a breakdown, an emotional breakdown. So try to make sure that those outbursts, particularly in a public sort of meltdown, try to avoid that if you can. Sometimes we can't help it because you're just kind of pushed to your limits, right? Whether it's, someone at the bank, or, you're on hold too long, or there's just a coworker or a friend and they say one thing too many. The temptation this month is just to sort of say what you want to say. Try not to. Try to find a better way to express yourself, because that also, like I was seeing the impact, it could have a lasting effect on that relationship, one that may be difficult to smooth over in the future. But the positive and sort of beneficial energy, what I was seeing was use instead that passion to really convey something effectively and make a better impact like that, like an emotional impact, rather than putting it into a person or a situation where you can't fix it later. It's not worth it. The other thing that I was seeing here was, speaking about relationships, but in a different area, was that it's important this month to heal money issues. Either pay or forgive debts, or just move on altogether when it comes to someone who is not expressing the same. This could be beyond money, because sometimes when I look at a money image in my head, it can also just be like pentacles, time or energy. So I've been talking to almost every sign about this, but yours was more specific. It either needs to be paid or forgiven, or just move on, because it's not worth it, and it's dragging you down as well. Then instead, spend some of that energy and maybe connect with some new people. You're one of the cool kids, is what they were telling me, back when we had to sit at school and in the lunchroom or whatever. Watch how you're holding your body language. I ran out of room here, but body language. And then go out on a limb and maybe sit with, or hang out with, or make plans with some of these people that you see that you're interested in learning more about. Chances are they're not sure where you stand. And if you make the first move, the worst that they'll say is no, or I'm busy, or they just don't answer. But I think that there's a better chance that they might be interested in connecting with you. Sure, let's do a virtual coffee, or whatever people do nowadays. Try to take that leap of faith and see if you can do it. So those are the high-level messages again this month. I'm going to review them quickly here, and then we'll talk more about them after we look at all of the Celtic Cross and the expanded forecast. But there's this expansion energy that was coming through in two different metaphors, the goldfish and the seed. So this year was the displacement year, the goldfish year, but I'm being shown a preview of next year, which is the seed pushing through the earth and reaching up to new heights. We've been lifted, and we also have to lift ourselves. That's the way the universal flow of energy works. You can't just expect it. You have to also be an active participant in it. The other piece that I saw was ideation and communication. People are interested in what you have to say. They may have a feeling of what you have to say or how you're feeling, and it's important to do some important kind of movement with that. So if you have a great idea, protect it. If you have to express yourself, make sure that if we also connect that with the emotional piece, that you're using it in an impactful way rather than just kind of like spewing things out. You have to be careful with that. And then I see new people coming into your life. There was one other thing, and I threw it off to the side because I couldn't figure out where to put it here. I actually got a date in my head, and I don't normally get something that specific, but around the 24th of November. Pay attention to that. I think it's an auspicious time for the business and the money stuff that I was talking about. So I never get dates, but I got a date. So, all right, let's go ahead now, and we're going to move along to the Celtic Cross. Give me a moment to stack all of these index cards up because, like I said, at the midpoint, I will review it, maybe have some additional context as we get into all of that. And welcome, everybody. It's good to see you today. And Sagittarius is always an interesting reading. Definitely got a lot of beautiful images and clear images for me today, which I always appreciate because it makes it fun and a little bit easier for me to kind of connect all of the messages. All right. Thank you for being patient at this point. I'm going to remain quiet and focus on the messages and the placements of the cards, but as you know, afterwards, I will contextualize everything for you. I see someone kind of mentioning about the emotional release. Please understand that that's in context, and it's not needed if it's in a public meltdown. So just respect what I was saying there, that listen, I'm actually looking at this, and this is normally why I don't. It is needed, but there are proper places for an emotional outburst. In a public forum, it's not. Even right now, it's not. So what I was saying is you want to be careful about how you use your emotions, okay? So again, let's just remain quiet while I get these cards out. I appreciate what you have to say there, but I really was talking about having an outburst at work or in public, and it's not appropriate there, and that was the context. So thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me a moment to get everything arranged here. as I'm looking at this, it's a little bit more balanced than yesterday's reading, or actually Friday's reading. What I'm seeing here is a lot of cups. I've been noticing a lot of cups coming through. So the emotional piece that I was hitting on, it hit a chord. So I'm glad that it did. But as I said, there's, I think it's about picking the right time and space for it, and also making sure that there is a constructive element to emotion. So I'm glad that it resonated. We'll get some more information here about how to channel and contextualize and express yourself in a way that isn't harmful. And so if I wasn't clear on that, I'm clear now on what I was saying. Okay, let's talk about what we have here in your catalyst position. We have a knight, literally like a knight card and a knight, and it looks to me a lot like the Knight of Swords here, even though it's just a general sort of an oracle card here, but it says be brave and honest. What I do like about this particular knight, though, is the listening skills that the knight has and the sort of introspective piece that this knight has. So a lot of times knights are too hasty. And that's kind of what I was hitting on with the emotional piece as well, or the communication piece. So it can hurt you sometimes if you don't get all of the information first, if you don't listen to the people around you first before taking action. So this knight is brave and honest and is open and willing to say something difficult, but is also going to make sure that they have the requisite piece of information before they kind of move forward. Because I think I even mentioned it earlier, like the toddler, that is not constructive if someone just kind of melts down in public. We've all seen it, and it can kind of be funny if you're watching the kid, but the kid is going through a really tough time because usually what's happening with a 2 or 3-year-old is they can't express themselves, right? So they just need to get it out, and that's what that outburst is. If you're around someone who's a little crazy this month like that, might be better to do what the knight is doing here. Listen, observe, and try to figure out, why is it happening? How can we make sure that it doesn't happen again? And how can I make this person feel supported? But if it keeps happening, you have to speak up and say, this isn't acceptable. So you want to be supportive, you want to be firm. And if you're trying to make a decision, signing a contract, starting your business, trying to express something that is difficult overall, pick your timing, know your audience, really think of your words. Words are powerful. That's all this is basically saying. But it is time to move forward, okay? And this knight is just trying to contemplate how, when, and just kind of pull everything into the best possible placement, okay? So I like it. I think this is a great message for you. We have the roses right behind him. And for relationships this month, whenever I see a rose, it's not always perfect, right? Roses are high maintenance plants, right? You've got to prune them or they won't grow. You have to watch them. They're very likely to get sort of insects like aphids and things like that. So you have to go in there and make sure that you're kind of like taking care of that. And then also they have thorns. So many of you may have a relationship this month, could be work, could be love, could be familial. Wherever it's at, there's a little bit of that high maintenance energy. And that's why the patience here that we see in this night is going to be ever so important. Once you get past that little incident, I feel like it's going to be smooth sailing. So don't let somebody's meltdown or outburst or a feeling where it's very frustrating take your calm away. You can do it, Sagittarius. You have the ability to mute your kind of fiery energy sometimes. So use that to your advantage. Pick and choose where you're going to put that fire, and I think that's going to work to your advantage. Okay, that's enough is said with that. So let's take a look at the center card here. We have the King of Cups, and the King of Cups is a great card for, again, being in touch with your emotions. So the passion, the heat, the fire, it's all here with this, even though it's a water sign, or a water card rather. The other thing is, look at how this king is actually holding a dove on its hand. So what I see with this is you have a chance now to share something like that. This is kind of connecting with the moon energy that I was talking about earlier. So you have a chance now to really push out this beautiful creative energy. And I think that you should kind of lean into that this month. This is a good time for love and a good time for fixing or going a little bit deeper into relationship energy as well. So good center card here, your creativity and your emotional side is going to be something that is actually an asset for you. The card is upright, a positive placement, positive messaging, and also it shows me that when it comes to relationships, you may have the ability to turn it around. You have the upper hand because the King of Cups is right at the center. Okay, so I like that. We have the Six of Cups on top of that. A big focus in this Six of Cups on community and connecting with people from the past. Remember how I said you're one of the cool kids? You have a seat at the table. That's what we're kind of seeing with this Six of Cups. A lot of times it's focused more on the kids. And I saw some messages about growing up. No, like this is actually about connecting with people from the past. And one thing I want to encourage everybody today is to release judgments. I'm seeing a lot of harsh judgments in the live chat. You know, you have to be open. And when we immediately kind of jump into a judgmental place, it actually factors out possibilities. I've talked to some signs this month about how, thoughts are very powerful and they can be very dangerous. If you think a person is something without kind of letting them show their true colors, especially if it's a negative thing, like saying, people need to grow up or we have to do this or whatever, you have to give people a chance to grow. You have to support them as well. To just throw out statements like that is not allowing people to be themselves. So what we see here are positive cards. So let's stay positive, folks. The King of Cups is about being in control of your emotions. The Six of Cups is about connecting with people and having that kind of almost childlike energy in a good way. So, I was talking about the kid with the meltdown, but kids also have the ability to release and move on. So let's release and move on this month because that's going to be so much more effective at helping you get through things and not focusing or fixating or pigeonholing, which we were just seeing right there. You don't want to pigeonhole a sign, a person, or anything because it's not a very kind thing to do. It's not very welcoming. And so with the Six of Cups here, if you want to be at that table, you have to also be open and welcome. You're coming out of a retrograde. So for some of you, you might have already healed that sort of past relationships. Six of Cups can be children. It can be parents and children. Also, it can be your parents, or it can be an old friend. So it's typically an intimate relationship from the past. And as I mentioned earlier, if there was any issues with money or debt, that needs to be healed. And we see that here with Justice, and I'll talk about that in a second. Or you just let it go. All right, we have the Chariot card in the deep past, but it's reversed. So our first reversal here is saying, this month, you don't have time to get to basically slow down or spin your wheels on arguing, on focusing on sort of small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. And I am a perfectionist when it comes to working on things sometimes. I really want to make sure that I can do my absolute best. There does come points, however, when time is up, right? You got to let it go. You got to move on to the next thing. And I'm always struggling with that too. But this particular card is partly that. It's also about control issues in relationships. So release the small stuff, do the best you can, then move on. The other message here is if there is someone in your life and they just kind of get under your skin, is it really worth it? If they're constantly pushing your buttons, sometimes we want to just be careful and not necessarily feed into that kind of a codependent relationship or someone who just, again, kind of gets your blood boiling. As I said earlier, we're kind of at a place right now where we're trying to figure out how to get control again. So this is a metaphor for 2020 overall. We're headed into better waters. That's what I was being shown from my guide. So focus on what you can control, where you want to go, who you are. This is really those sort of rhetorical questions. Who am I? Where am I headed? Etc. Okay. It's time to make things right. Justice is a great card. When she's reversed, as she is for us today, she's saying something's not the way it needs to be. And either we're going to get the scales even, or I'm going to say no, I'm going to stand my ground, I'm going to walk away. So the Justice card in reverse has special connotations. The reversal means a lot of times I've tried to do everything that I can at this job, in this relationship, or on this particular path or experience. I no longer feel like it's worth my time, so I'm going to move on. So it can be saying I quit for a job. It can be saying I want a divorce. It can be deciding this isn't for me. In a positive way, it could be sort of deciding I don't want to do this to myself anymore. Like if it's smoking or drinking or something else that's kind of eating away at your overall health. So it can be it's basically standing up for yourself, because justice is just that. It's basically making sure that everything is right. So what in your life right now feels like it could be better, or where in your life do you feel like enough is enough? Because wherever that is, Lady Justice is coming in and saying, okay, stand up, make a decision, make a stand. And this is where it is important to kind of use your emotions and say things, but say it constructively. And that was the piece I think earlier that was missing. I'm all for expression. I always say that in my readings, like find a way to channel it, but it's about constructive channeling, because otherwise it's just kind of like vomiting energy around people, and that's not good. Kind of like if you ever have a phone call and someone just sits there and complains the whole time, and you hang up and you think, they didn't even ask how I was. It was really exhausting. And I feel the energy of all that person, and they left feeling great. So if there's stuff like that, it's not a constructive download or sort of expression. So that's maybe another area in your life where you put some limits up, because justice can be about the scales like that. So if somebody's always taking your time or energy, or taking your time and resources, then Lady Justice is saying enough is enough, okay? So stand up for yourself. And then we have the Knight coming through, the Knight of Swords, which is kind of what I saw here in the Catalyst. The way the Catalyst functions, I forgot to mention this earlier, is he keeps us, well, it's a he this time, but they keep us on the right track. So whatever the message is, it's sort of, how do I stay out of my own way? So here we have the very active Knight. Here we have the pensive Knight. And so you're going to be kind of between the two. And it's interesting. It's a Knight of Swords twice. So what is this? Listening. What is this? Speaking and moving and acting. So you're going to go between passive and active. And we see the scales here this month. And it's about balance. And these scales are completely even. So you're going to have to do just as much listening as you do talking. And the listening is going to be, I would say, sometimes arguably even more powerful than the talking, because that was the catalyst. Have you ever noticed, if you are talking to somebody, when you leave more of a gap, they fill it in. And when they fill it in, you learn things that you wouldn't learn otherwise. So when you think someone's done this month, continue to, I said, focus on body language. Stay open. Don't do any of this. Don't kind of look off. Don't look at your phone. Really be engaged. Give them a little bit more space, not to an awkward place where then it's weird, just a little bit extra, a half step extra, so that they might be able to add something and say, you know what, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about. That's the thing. I have a friend that's a doctor, and I remember that they would say, it was as the person was about to leave, that they would say the real problem sometimes. So give people one last little moment to just check in and make sure everything is okay. That listening is going to save you a lot of trouble down the road. We have the Four of Cups here in reverse, and it is really a perspective card. I love the illustration on this particular deck, because there's someone here who really cares and is supporting this person. They're focusing on something that we can't even see, because I view the cups as good things, but a lot of times Four of Cups can be comparing your life to someone else and wondering, like, why is it taking me so long to get there? Why haven't I achieved this? Why, is this or this happening to me? This is about taking a pause, finding some perspective, knowing that there's love and support, and there might be something better waiting for you, but you have to stay open. You have to stay aware. And so this card in reverse this is always a hidden blessing, is how I read the Four of Cups sometimes. But it can also be a missed opportunity, depending on how you look at it. And it's typically perspective that needs to be shifted. So just get a little bit of perspective. There may be someone in your life that's lacking that perspective as well. And of course, that can be frustrating. So your challenge this month is going to be balancing and kind of traversing through these different energies. As we look at your ego, I feel like you can handle it, though. We have the Emperor in reverse, just like the Queen of Wands in reverse. I typically see the Emperor, Queen of Wands as really good business cards. You're able to manage things. You're able to kind of make everything work. When either of them is reversed, the same general message will hold true, which is focus on, you do you. You focus on your stuff this month. Try when you can to also be opening and welcoming to others, because sometimes the Emperor, just like the Empress in reverse, can kind of be like a helicopter dad or mom energy, where they make you sort of doubt yourself. It feels like you have to check in before you make a decision. And if you are working with somebody, if you're living with someone, or if you're a boss, and so whether it's like on the level or you're supervising, and you have that kind of controlling energy, it basically means that the person will never be able to be as independent or as successful or as productive as they could be. So let people make mistakes. Let them come to you. It actually helps elevate your position too at some point. So you've got to let people grow a little bit through trial and error. And then during that conversation, say, always come to me. I'm here, but I want you to know that I trust you. I expect the best until proven otherwise. And I think that's a good way to treat friends, children, direct reports at work, and everybody. Just expect the best. And a good leader doesn't have to show that they're in charge. Typically, when someone says, I'm amazing, it's something to take pause, especially if they're in a position of power and they're constantly talking about how amazing they are all the time. It's okay to celebrate success. I think that's a good thing. But if it's all that the person talks about, if you walk into their office and it's nothing but trophies and certificates and it's all about them, then you have to wonder, are they paying attention to what's going on around them? So if you're around someone like that, this is where also it's a question of, do I want to keep being around someone who can't be present, who isn't experiencing what everyone else is experiencing? So leadership, you've got it. Just don't overdo it, and just don't second guess yourself or second guess other people. That's basically it with the Emperor in reverse. Take back anything where you feel like you aren't getting the voice, the leadership, or the opportunities that you deserve, because you do deserve it. It's just a matter of figuring out how and where to express it. Okay. Hi, I see also about judging a comment without accurate knowledge is also low vibration. I wasn't trying to judge a comment. I'm just trying to keep everybody in the high energy here. So let's keep it nice, people. All right, so we have the Five of Wands here in reverse, which also is about trying to focus on cooperation. And it's a group energy, just like we have here today. And that's all I'm trying to do is keep the group energy high. So the Five of Wands is basically saying, continue to work, continue to focus, continue to do a great job. Sometimes we don't get the feedback that we need. And this is saying, don't give up. You've got what it takes. And I do believe you have what it takes. And I do want to acknowledge some of the things that have been brought up today. Emotions are valid. You should have a chance to express them. But be cognizant of who's around you. And that's what I'm trying to do kind of occasionally as I interject between what I'm seeing in the comments here and what's going on here. It's a group. So your energy affects others just like it's affecting everybody today. So keep the emotions high, keep working hard, lift other people up. Remember, the message from the guides this morning was the sign of let's be lifted up, let's push up, let's go higher. Let's focus on those sorts of messages this month. With the Five of Wands, great progress is possible. You just have to keep pushing. And just because the light isn't there doesn't mean that it's not actually at the end of the tunnel, okay? So things are good, guys, and I'm trying to keep us in that high energy, and I really feel positive about what's possible this month, and I hope you can see that as well. The only thing with the Five of Wands is if we tie it up to the Justice card, especially the Justice card in reverse, some of you are simply thinking, I'm not getting what I need out of this exchange, out of this experience. So if that's going on, then what I want you to kind of figure out is, what should I be doing? Because to sometimes get angry at a job because you're not happy, well, it is just a job, and that is, that company isn't to blame for the fact that you're not happy. So what this is basically saying is to take accountability and make a decision. And it may not be something you can do immediately because we're in a very strange time now. So the job market is limited. I get it. I know when I quit my corporate job, by the way, it took me 2 years to be able to quit. I had to save money. I had to pay down bills. I had to reach a certain amount before I could kind of afford to do that. So it took me 2 years of working in a job where I knew I wasn't kind of where I needed to be to get to a point where I was going to take a big risk and try something new. So I get it. So sometimes when I say these things, it's the beginning, it's the decision. So this month could just be the acknowledgement that I want something more, which is a powerful thought, actually. I'm ready for something more. So that's the seed that you're going to plant this month. And that's the change that you can affect. And it may be a 2-year cycle change as well. And that's fine. Because like I said, I'm not doing all the math. I'm just looking at the last number. I'm not doing the sort of numerology of it. But we're looking at a 1 for 2021. And then For 2022, that's basically bringing it into balance. So if you ever look at tarot, the odd numbers are about trying to get to the next level. So they're opportunity, they're imbalance, they're shifting and they're changing. And then the even numbers are usually about finding balance. Oddly enough, 2020 would break down to a 4. And so this is like a hidden year where we're actually getting balance through what seems like chaos. So, if you were to add the numerology for this year, it's actually, I said it earlier, it's a foundational year. What I didn't realize was it was going to break through the foundation and force us to build a new foundation. So that's really what we should be focusing on. That's what the Five of Wands and Justice are saying. Either build it stronger or destroy it and start something new, rebuild. So repair or rebuild. And that's why this message is especially powerful and auspiciously timed during a retrograde, because if you're tuning in live, it's going to give you a chance to do that rebuilding if you want to. All right. We have the Nine of Cups here in hopes and fears and opportunities. I love the Nine of Cups, actually. This is, especially in its upright position, it's about celebrating the best possible energy in any situation and staying in a high energy, which is what I've been encouraging us to do just in the cards here, in the chat, as I intersperse and kind of look back and forth. So just remember that this month, your positive thought is the attractive or magnetic energy that you want to connect with. And what if this Knight card here is actually being introspective and trying to go to the positive? Something I always try to do, by the way. So, we're all human. We all communicate sometimes off a little bit, but know that the intention, if you're always in that intention of going positive, things are going to be okay for you. We have the Ace of Cups here in the outcome. I really like that we have the King of Cups at the center and the Ace of Cups in the outcome. If you're looking for love, it's a good month. These are very clear signs for me. And if you're struggling in a relationship, a couple things are possible. Some of you may decide, I don't want this, but you end up being quite happy with the sort of newfound freedom that you have from stepping away from something, from that emancipation. Some of you may decide, we need to work on this, and you find a way to work on it. But you're probably going to need to talk to somebody. This can be a lawyer, this can be a psychologist. It's someone who's really good with communicating and facilitating that communication. Some of you may meet somebody new. They could be the Knight of Swords as well. What I'm seeing here is, if it is, there's this feeling of younger energy and old soul, or an old person with sort of a young sort of heart. There's a juxtaposition of age versus maturity, or age versus sort of vitality. So new love in your life is probably going to somehow confound you. The Four of Cups can be a surprise, like I said. And don't limit yourself. If you like this energy, this new opportunity, this new person, there's something fun about how it's packaged up. It's not what you expected. So happy surprises, right? And possibility either way to be happy, whether you stay or whether you go. What's most important for you is, what do you want? Because when you know what you want, your partner knows what you want, your friends know what you want, the universe knows what you want, and it can start to be there for you. And you can also start to see new paths. But when you're indecisive, then it's kind of like, I use like a Las Vegas analogy, when you're pulling something and just hoping for the best. And it may be lucky sevens, or it may be a bunch of nothing. So the more clear you are, the less you're kind of pulling whatever that is, slot machine. And it's more sort of a calculated investment in an opportunity or in your own growth. Always better to do that calculated investment with low risk rather than whatever that is. Okay, let's move along to the expanded forecast. I need to take a quick drink because I've been talking a lot. So we're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Okay. Excuse me. As we look at health, we have cleansing waters. Purification activates the vibrant life force. Yes, it does. We have the card in reverse, which is interesting. So for me, we were talking earlier about a way to let things go. I do think it's super important to have an emotional channel. And if I didn't say that, or if I didn't somehow allow you to feel like you could express yourself, that's always the case. But how can we do so in a way that is productive? How can you also find a way to, if you have to share something with someone, to like clear the air, I think is super important. Have you noticed though, when you go about a conversation, if you just go in like guns a-blazing, the other person is scared to death and is probably going to be defensive. If you have something to say, it's also really good to, so back in the day, a while back, I was an art director at one point and I was a managing creative director. So one of the things that I would have to do sometimes is look at a design or look at something that didn't make sense. And what I would always try to make sure is that I wasn't missing a piece of the puzzle. So before I went in and said, I don't like it, and I would never say that, by the way, what I would do is say, okay, so walk me through your creative process. And I would ask a very specific question, like if the color was wrong or the logo usage was wrong, I would say, I'm specifically curious about this. How did you land on the color? Did you take into consideration what we talked about at the last meeting? And tell me why you think this is an improvement over where we came from. And then I would just let the person talk. Then after I heard that, I would say, well, I agree with this and this. I think that maybe one piece was missed here. So why don't we go back and revisit this? And I'll talk to you a little later today and let's see if we can get this ready for the client. So it was never sort of like, you're bad, this is wrong. I would try to understand where the communication broke down, or if they heard it, or if they had the information, or if they had the assets, because what if they didn't? And I just went in there and I said terrible things. So I agree with the comment earlier that you should always contextualize. Realize, by the way, when I'm doing this here, I'm trying to focus on this, this, and this. So it's a lot. So if I just see some negative things there, it's hard for that. But in your life, what I would say, same thing, multitasking, give people the benefit of the doubt. And what needs to be going on is that you're giving them a chance to sort of express themselves. But then if it's not right, you course correct and you say, okay, so you put in a lot of work. I think that we're close, but we have to work on this and this. Do you need some help? Can I be of any assistance to you on that? And that's a lot kind of easier than just putting out judgments or putting out emotional energy. And that's going to clear the air and clear the water. By the way, we've got water here. So water is a great agent for meditation. So Epsom salt bath is a really effective way to do this. If you're close enough to a body of water, a lake or an ocean, and it's not freezing degree, like right now, northern hemisphere is getting a little colder, southern is warming up. So depending on where you're at on the globe, if you can get into the water, it's really good. So use literally water to help you pull out energy and clear your head and clear your mind. And then also, when you're clearing the air, make sure that the emotions don't get in the way of that, okay? One thing that's missing, and I saw the sort of energy going into the head space, make sure that if you take a bath, like an Epsom salt bath, that you do dunk your head in. So the way I normally do it is I'll make sure that I kind of get the crown chakra, and then I'll use a towel and I make sure I get it on my face, because you want to really kind of immerse your whole body in that salt bath so that everything gets cleared. This is a very powerful, important part of your head to get cleared. And then I usually take a shower after I take a bath. I know it's a lot of, or you need to, because the salt's going to be on your skin and it makes you dry. So if you do an Epsom salt bath, you need to at least somehow wash off with regular water afterwards. But that's a powerful, intuitive way to make that happen, okay? So the other thing here that I'd like to hit upon when we're looking at health, all of the there's a couple of cards here that I think that are important, but standing up for yourself is important. If there's something that you want to do that also makes you feel healthier, this is a month to sort of make or break a cycle. You're still having some of that retrograde energy, so that's key. Make the first move in having that happen. I think that's also important. And move more, because I'm looking at you and you're expressed by the Emperor. So lower extremities especially, stretch, make sure you're not sitting so much. And that's going to be really important to general health. Let's look at wealth now. And we have control, which is what we were talking about here. So it's time for you to get control over your money matters, your career, the checkbook, or just understanding where you stand with respect to, actually, I'm sorry, this isn't wealth. So where you stand with your money, your career, or even if we're looking at self-confidence, it can be self-control or feeling like I'm the one now that controls my life. I'm happy with who I am, etc. So all elements of control and worth are really what matter this month. So at your job, do you have the ability to make the changes that you need to? Do you feel like your voice is heard? In your relationship, is your partner contributing as much as you are? Are they trying to control you? Can you somehow get that control back if that's the case? And if not, whatever you need to do, to feel like things are balanced, that's what's important this month, to be seen, to be heard. And we kind of have that same energy here between active and passive. So I feel like that's one of the struggles this month, or one of the opportunities. Much like the last reading that I did, no pentacles today. For you, we got one wand card, but one thing that I've seen that seems to be a theme over the past couple readings is emotions, emotions, emotions. I can see it in chat today. So I want you to really focus on finding a way to temper those emotions over the course of November, so you can be happy, successful, and if you need to channel or heal anything, of course, find a way to constructively do that. It's going to be very, very, very important, okay? Looking at relationships, we have shifting universes. What a gorgeous card this one is. Reminds me of like a 1980s style kind of modern art. So when I'm looking at this, it was reversed. For me, there's a complicated energy to this. Look at how all of the sort of ribbons or bands of energy are on top of each other. And I can almost see in a very abstract way a person kind of coming through here. And it's like a golden spiral from their head. So what I would say for you is we're all complicated, right? We all have more experiences than most people would ever care about or understand or take the time to know. So as you're looking at relationships, realize the intricate sort of symphony of energy that each of us is carrying, and not to let one moment in time color or shape or make a decision of like what the overall movement between the two of you could be. Try not to get wrapped up in their web either. So I think that, as I said, there might be some of you this month that are in the presence of someone who's having a difficult emotional time. You may be going through a difficult emotional time. I think what's important is to try not to get other people kind of woven into that web, or to get kind of pulled into their energy. So maintaining your distance, having good boundaries, supporting people as you can, and it's all about changes, shifting universes. I said that earlier. So for some of you, it's just time to move on if that's the case. And as we looked at earlier, the King of Cups and the Ace of Cups are very positive energies, and it's also crossed by the Six of Cups. So I feel like when it comes to overall emotions, you've got it. These are the best cards you could possibly get for that. All you have to avoid is sort of issues of control or speaking or acting up too quickly. And I think if you stick with that, then you're going to be okay. You're opening up intuitively, creatively, and psychically this month. We have a mediumship card in reverse. So mediumship also can be channeling or experiencing or empathically receiving things that aren't your own, but you don't know it. So when you first wake up as an intuitive, sometimes I actually had one of my most difficult experiences around this time of year. If you're watching it live, it was right around Halloween. So when I first woke up, it was probably around 2009, 2010. I remember stepping out on a Halloween, and I got so sick from the energy outside that I had to just come back in. And I was feeling like it was because it's low frequency energy sometimes if you're out. I'm in a big city and I think it's kind of singular in California. If you're in Northern California or Southern California, we do Halloween in a big way here. So like San Francisco, there's a big street, same thing here in Hollywood, West Hollywood. So there's a big celebration. And so I just wanted to see what it was about. But there was so many people, and I just started to psychically open up that I felt all of their energy. And the veil is very thin. So I was receiving spiritual energy, and then look at how people are dressed as like witches and goblins and devils and things. I'm like, this is not for me. I need to go back inside and go to sleep, have some food, go to sleep, and listen to some good music, which is what I did. So be careful about the environmental toxins. It can be like that. It can be spiritual energy around you that's chaotic. You may be more sensitive than you are giving yourself credit for. And so, sometimes when you're working with someone or living with someone, their energy becomes your energy. So separate a little bit. That's justice, and that's the scales. So you want to separate a little bit and make sure. And I know now it's hard, especially if you're always around that person. I think it's about having space in your house, or putting your earphones in, or taking a walk as you can. I know there's some parts of the world, like I think Paris is starting to clamp down a little bit on curfews and movement. But if you can still do that, that's going to help a lot, because you're more sensitive, and because the veil is very thin in October and November. Even for casually sort of intuitive people, you're going to feel a lot more. Use that with the moon energy that I was talking about earlier to do something exciting and creative. Okay. And yes, by the way, it's a full moon on Halloween, and it's a blue moon. It's the second full moon in October. So it's really heavy energy if you happen to be watching this live. I'm reading for November, so no confusion there. But for those of you watching it this month, be prepared. All right. Let's go ahead and review everything that we talked about, and then I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the soul path. So I saw the symbol of a goldfish in a plastic bag. What a great metaphor that is. A lot of us are feeling this sense of seeking more breathing room, right? We are that fish. It's like, what's going on? Where am I going? Maybe you're missing your family, or like your school or work, because literally fish have school of fish. So somehow you're feeling that displacement. And for some of us, it's just a feeling of being out of control. Really, I think what it's trying to do is get us into a better environment, which brought me to the next line of messages here, which is, I really believe we are being collectively lifted into a higher energetic level, and everything's valid, but it's a catalyst. And when we look at our catalyst this month, it was listening, observing before speaking. It's time for a change, and the change may be in multiple areas: where you're working, where you're living, who you're living with, or who you're working with. So work, home, relationship, all in a sort of flux or shifting energy. And also hopefully getting back to why you came on this planet. I think we were all distracted pre-2020, and the things that may have needed to be changed, you would just let it slip under the rug, but you can't do that anymore. My guide showed me a seed pushing up for the light. And the reminder there is that we have what it takes to survive, but we have to go higher. We have to keep reaching. We have to believe. And even when we don't see the light, we have to know it's there, and we have to create it or move towards it, because our thoughts and our energy are creative forces. So we want to keep going into that creative energy. The next thing had to do with your thoughts and how others are reacting to them. So some people are already reaching into your head, or intuitively kind of tapping into what's going on. They want some clarity. They might also be keenly interested in what you're thinking. And because I saw the moon, if you're trying to keep a secret, it's probably not working. So it would be better to be more transparent and communicative with that secret or with that information. Make sure that you have protected yourself if you have a great idea, or if you need to focus on anything that is around sort of like an intellectual property or privacy issue. And I think it's a great time for new seeds or new business venture to be planted. As I said, we're kind of entering into ACE type energy. And so that's super important as well. I think that really it's all about growth and expansion this year. So as we're going into the next sort of 12-month cycle. So keep focusing on that, and you'll be in a good position. Just be picky about who you're doing business with and who you're connecting with. And that will keep you on the right track and keep you connected with the right people. Speaking of the emotional crash, I think it's just important to kind of know that your emotions have an impact on others, and you can use that to your benefit creatively to make an impact. And we talked about this earlier, and don't worry about it. We're in a good space. I see that we're still talking about it. I'm moving on, and I'm trying to focus on other things, so we're in a good space. I think it was actually a great example of how emotions affect other people. So watching your emotional outbursts, tempering fear, and really trying to find a way to constructively express yourself. That's all I was saying with this. And I think we have a good example here of listening and speaking, or figuring out who the audience is and when and where it makes sense. Healing money issues with existing relationships is super important as well. And if there's anything that you need to pay off yourself, or if you want to just forgive someone and move on, I think this is a good time to do that. because there's other things like a new group of people that care about you. So go out there and connect with them. Remember, you're the cool kid at the table too, and they'll be happy to be with you. We saw that with the Six of Cups here. You deserve a seat at that table. Listening is important. Listening and then speaking. Speaking and then listening. We have to have both. And sometimes the exchange isn't everything that you want, but it's always worth the effort. Ultimately, that's why the rose is there. It's worth the work. Roses are beautiful. They're a sign of peace. We just have to work through some of the energy around the rose itself. Love is possible. Love is actually your central theme here between the King of Cups and Ace of Cups. And then we have like so much cups energy here. I feel like love and being appreciated and being cared for is super important, okay? We have the Six of Cups on top of that, healing connections with old friends, with family, and with parents. I think that's going to be really, really, really important. The Chariot in reverse, making sure that everything is organized this month, that you're not spending time stressing on the small stuff and focusing instead on what you can control. If there's someone in your life, though, we've got these control cards, Justice reverse, Chariot reverse, and then the control card upright. She's just another version of Justice, I think. So what we're looking at here is it has to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, this is a time to make that change, okay? And Justice reverse is saying, all right, I am ready now for that change. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to speak my heart, speak my truth. As we said earlier, the way that you communicate, it's super important, and I know you can get there. So don't worry about that. Perspective is ever so important this month as well. Maybe helping people see things from a different perspective is important. And that's all I was trying to do today too, was just to kind of show different perspectives. And when I'm reading, sometimes that's all I need to do is like, I'm kind of like not just kind of, I am a channel. So I'm seeing things and reporting things and trying to kind of like impart what's going on. And when I'm in that channel, I just need to kind of like express it. So that's what's going on with that. And some of us are in that too, but there's a reminder for all of us to kind of get above that and to look at what's going on. Emperor card, making sure that, again, as we're looking at control issues, someone's not taking that away from you. If you're not happy with where you're at or you feel like you're not making a difference, it's time to move on. Stay positive overall, because all of this cup energy that we see here is moving you. Look at that wave. It's moving you in a good position. And it actually will help you stay kind of like even and filled up emotionally and overall. So it's a good thing. Ace of Cups, bringing you to happiness, to joy, to a sense of fulfillment. So are you feeling that sense of happiness? If you are, then good. And if you're not, then it's a chance for you to kind of redirect and figure out what works for you. Cleansing waters, we talked about the power of taking an Epsom salt bath. Drinking water is really powerful. Swimming is powerful. And then just finding a way to make sure that what you say and how you exchange it is clear and clean. And that's what these two cards will help you do. Stay clear and stay open and not combative. And all those things are going to help you out. Ultimately, the whole month this month is about getting more control and clarity. And that's going to help some of you shift even out of a relationship that doesn't make sense. Remember, if you're feeling off a little bit, welcome to the club. It's a heavy energy right now. So miscommunications, it's fine. We're in retrograde. Feeling a lot of heavy energy, again, same thing. And the veil is thin. So as the month kicks off, if you're watching this in November, you're still going to be feeling a little bit of the retrograde shadow and the thin veil. So the blessing of mediumship, though, however, is going to be that you're going to be given little gifts of intuition, of clarity when it comes to these things. So I believe that you're headed for a really powerful couple of months ahead. So stay positive, okay? Let's go a little deeper into the soul's path. And I want to focus now on looking at control issues because it came up so many times. Looking at justice, looking at the chariot, looking at control, looking at the emperor. Control, control, control. So what can we do? What's the message around the dynamics of control in relationships this month? We got a lucky 333 for how many people are here, so I like it. All right, so control. All right, first pentacle that we've gotten here. So we have the Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Discs. And for many of you, it's a question of taking the initiative, taking control, and moving things forward. I think a Knight also can indicate a decision that I want to do something else, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be an agent of that change. Pages are passive. They can send and deliver messages, but they're not as active as a knight. So to me, when I see the knight, it's about moving. So for some of you, the answer to the question is it's time to move. And when we're looking at that big old disc here, it's also time to defend yourself and to realize that you have a lot to offer. So if you look at the Four of Pentacles, one of the reasons I will read it sometimes as protective is that big coin over the heart. We have a little bit of that here. So I want to just remind you that all of you are amazing. You're worth whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Invest in yourself and find places where people will also give right back to you, reciprocity. But it might be time to change your job, might be time to go back to school, it might be time to just go out on your own. So this is a sort of independent card, but it's also a very active card. So it kind of depends on you. So be strong, take the action that you need. And if you're looking for something different in your life, the Knight of Discs says you're worth it, okay? Let's take a look at just relationships overall, because we got so much relationship energy this month. I want to see if there's a general message. Okay, so we have the Six of Wands. It's reversed. The interesting thing is Six of Wands is normally a card of success and recognition. When it's reversed, it can be a card of group pressure, which we see really well in this particular illustration. It's sort of hard sometimes to reach a group consensus. Notice how there's one person that is moving away from the group. Everyone else is going in another direction. So you might be that one person this month where it's like, I don't think this is for me. So the cool thing, though, is that you might find someone with that same energy, because we've got the King of Cups and the Ace of Cups here. So your individuality, your ability to take a sort of leap of faith and go out on a limb, that could actually be a really, really good thing. And sometimes we have to go counter to the flow. It's almost like they're rowing a boat, but they're not. So when you go counter to the flow, your unique voice, your singular sort of energy can be an amazing and an impactful sort of way to be seen, to be heard, and to stand out from the crowd. So if you're looking for that edge, looking for someone in your life that really sees you for what you are, you have to see it yourself as well. And that could mean that you're doing something that makes people question, like, why won't you just follow what everyone else has wanted to do? Change would never happen if we kind of gave into peer pressure. Don't give into peer pressure. So the relationship message is that your individuality, that one person looking away, actually might be okay this month. So lean into taking a risk, taking a leap, and know that you may have someone that is interested in your approach. And it's because it's not homogenized. It's not what everyone else is doing. Sensitivity, mediumship, openness. Let's take a look at that. We have the King of Pentacles here, and that's telling me that many of you should go a little bit deeper into that idea of personal development. Sorry, my dog is sleeping and barking. He sleeps. He barks in his sleep. All right, so the King of Pentacles here is basically really focusing on this idea of I can do this and I can manage this. And some of you might do this on your own as well. And when it comes to mediumship, we kind of all have to go down that path. It's a feeling of, unfortunately, except for those of us that are doing this on YouTube, there's not a lot of people that talk about it, because in the past, it didn't end very well, right? Like you look at, what happened with Joan of Arc or in Salem. A lot of times people that are connected with things that are, or even Galileo, when he was talking about, thoughts that the church didn't like because it would take away the idea that everything rotated around the earth. Own your idea, invest in yourself, and really kind of bake it. And then if there is something that you want to share with the world, then do it. If you have to develop, don't be afraid to do it on your own. And if you need to move on to a new job, all of these things are kind of coming together. But I'm getting a sense that some of you just need to step out on your own this month, because all of these are showing that this is about taking action, taking a step in the right direction. This is literally about being the one person that is not like the rest of the group. And this one is a self-sufficient card. So it's showing me that the individual energy that you have here is going to, in the long run, be what pays off. So there's a story that's being told with these 3 cards as well. Okay. All right, let's go into the meditation at this point. I want to say thank you to everybody who has been present today, and I'd love for you to hit like and subscribe. And I think that we have some powerful stuff today, and I want to help with the emotional component. So let's focus on the release. I hear you loud and clear, and I want to help with what I saw in the chat earlier. So for those of you that are in pain, let's bring you through the water. Let's kind of do this this going into the water and clearing it all out and leaving today feeling lighter and brighter. And we're going to let go of stuff. Whatever was, it was in the past. Okay. And we're going to leave feeling clear, clean, bright, and supported, because ultimately that's what this is all about. I love you. I appreciate you. It's all good. We're going to go into this meditation, and we're going to go into I want to go into a pool of radiance, this beautiful sort of well of the soul, where it's all light, and we're going to get into that high energy and heal one another. Okay. So please get into a comfortably seated position and see yourself in the forest. I'm seeing all this beautiful green light in the forest, and there is this well of energy. And the color of the well is like blue, green, turquoise. It's kind of the colors of, if we were to mix like the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown, all of those energies, you can see those in this kind of sacred well of the soul. As you close your eyes and walk towards this sacred well of energy or sort of pool of energy, I want you for a moment just to look at the forest around you. It's almost like something you would see out of The Wizard of Oz. There's this rich, rich emerald green all around you. And everything it's almost like bioluminescent. You can see the energy almost shining from the trees and emanating from the grass. And as you close your eyes and touch it, you feel the love coming into your body. Literally, we are surrounded by love. Love is all around us. It's in the trees, it's in the flowers, it's in the air, it's in the sun. And in this meditative state, you are a vessel, and you are kind of like that chalice, the Ace of Cups. You are the cup, and you're receiving, and you're filling yourself up. The first energy that's coming through is that beautiful heart-centric green energy. Imagine now that as you move towards the pool, you can kind of see that chalice superimposed over your body. And just imagine that you're going to fill up every cell in your body with light as you dip into this pool. The first step that you take is exhilarating. It's almost as if you're riding a roller coaster, and you feel your entire body sort of take this sort of, it's almost as if it's being lifted up. Or if you ever kind of have a surprise and you have to breathe in really quick like that. And we're going to move from the lower chakra all the way to the upper one. So as you're putting your feet in and you're stepping in and moving almost to waist level, just allow for your extremities, your knees, your legs, your feet to get some love. They hold you up every single day. They take a beating. So allow these joints to receive the love and the grounding and the support that they deserve. And imagine that any sort of pain, especially if you're suffering with arthritis or have had sports injuries or any other things that kind of hold you back, or maybe even a prosthetic, whatever it is that's going on in that part of your body, I want you to feel supported, completely whole, completely okay. And in this moment, letting go of anything that's been dragging you down, almost like an anchor. So imagine that anchor is being dissolved, and that energy is going into this part of your body, healing, moving, releasing, especially around the hips, where we can hold a lot of energy, or the lower back. Let it go. Allow yourself now to move a little bit deeper into this pool. So it's coming up just above the waist. And at this point, your creative energy, we've already kind of healed the root chakra. Now we're going into the sexual chakras, where we hold our expressive energy. And sometimes as it even gets into our solar plexus, as we start to go a little deeper, the energy between that second and third chakra can get in the way of things. That's where the power sits. That's where the oppression sits, where the shame sits. And we want to melt that away. Just imagine that the beautiful light of this pool, again, the colors of the throat, of the third eye, and the crown, it can perceive, it can understand, it can help manage and massage out that energy. So in this moment, I want you to kind of realize you are lovable, you are worthwhile, you are completely as your higher self and God decided you should be. And all you need to understand is that being you is enough. So in this moment, just think, I am enough. I'm more than enough for myself or for others. Feel that energy now moving up into your heart, and you feel that self-worth now. You no longer feel the need to express power. You no longer, like in just an outburst, for instance, you no longer feel the need to take control over things that are out of your control. You're going to focus instead on, where can I make a difference? Where can I really just kind of attract people in my life that see my power, that aren't trying to take that away? Imagine that the energy is going in and healing up any fractures in your energetic self or in your soul. And it's going in and it's smoothing it out, and you're becoming whole again. Step into the water now so that you're up to your neck now. So your heart, your solar plexus, your second, your first chakras are all covered with this light. Because it's light, you're not going to suffocate, so don't freak out. I want you now to step all the way into the pool and imagine that, like that goldfish, you can breathe the light into your lungs. So feel it going into your throat, opening it up, helping you find your voice, helping you find your strength, helping you say things in the right way. Allow it to go into your third eye so that you can perceive things accurately, and then allow it to clear the crown. Imagine even on the crown that you are wearing a crown, perhaps owning your divinity, connecting with the light, seeing the light now. And as you open your eyes in the meditation, not actually here on the planet, allow the light to come through your eyes as well, and see the light everywhere. You're actually underground, but there is light here. And when you're ready, as you're listening to the singing bowl, imagine that kind of like a firefly or like an angel, or some sort of an ascended being, that you're going to rise up from this pool, and maybe you have wings, maybe you're taking on an animal totem and you look like a dragonfly or a hummingbird or some sort of higher frequency creature. Whatever it is, I want you to rise up out of the water as I play the singing bowl. All right, take a nice deep breath. Spread out your wings if you have wings. Simply enjoy kind of floating above the water for a moment if you can. Get the perspective that we talked about today. One of the things that hopefully this whole reading helped you feel. Get a sense of lightness in being, lightness in heart. Forgive yourself, forgive others, let it go. It's the past. Who cares? This is now. This is what it's all about. This is why you're here today. So where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Set those intentions. Feel that you're being lifted up by your lightness of being, by the energy around you, and see yourself as we kind of close this meditation, taking the first step or the first sort of flight towards that goal that you have, that dream that you have, and stay in that elevated state that we just created. Okay. Gently open your eyes when you're ready, and welcome back. And thank you, everybody. Some really powerful energy coming through. And, you know, the issues of control, I definitely felt that for your sign. And I think that it's always hard to kind of find a way to work through that. So control and emotion and emotional control, there's some big things here that are shifting, but at the end of the day, it's going to bring a sense of happiness, completion, and hopefully you'll be like that Ace of Cups, receiving more sort of energy. And hopefully this was the first step in getting you into that place of being happy and fulfilled. All right, let me quickly wrap up. I just want to say thanks to everybody that showed up today. You're really why I'm here. And I work really hard. And if I got distracted during the reading, that's usually why I don't interact with chat, because it's hard to do the two. So don't worry about it. We're good. And I'm here for you really to kind of help you out. I'm going to give you some information. You can find it all on my website, which is nicholasashbaugh.com. You can also click on the profile tab on YouTube, and all the information that I'm going to cover is there. So if you can't remember, don't worry about it. You can just go there. For anybody that has been kind enough to, I see that there are just some super chats that are still coming in. Thank you so much. When this goes on replay a little bit later today, I will pin a comment, just say thank you, but I'm saying thank you right now. This particular deck, I think Maria put this earlier, but this is Arcus Arcanum or Arcanum. It's an out of print one, but your assistance helps me get some things like that. So sometimes I'm even able to go on eBay and find an old deck like that. So thank you. You're part of that. If you want to support the channel in a small way, you can do it just by clicking thumbs up, click subscribe, and even comment. And all of that stuff just shows YouTube that it's content that people like. Interaction matters. If you want to give back on replay only, and it only works on Android or on the PC or Mac desktop, you can use the applaud button. Otherwise, Patreon is a great way. You can also be a member here. I see a lot of people here that are with the green text, so you can click the join button. Otherwise, join me on social media. My social media accounts are easy. It's just my name, nothing before, nothing after. On Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I'll use the stories to remind you of upcoming videos. And I also later today will post stickies. Sometimes I don't do it until the end of the day, but usually before the next video reading, I will have a picture of the cards that I wrote out by hand, and I put that on the top three here. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I'm on TikTok and Patreon as well. Again, everything is at Nicholas Ashbaugh. And thank you again for those of you that are still doing super chats. I appreciate it. PayPal, it's my name as well, paypal.me/Nicholas Ashbaugh. And the only social media network that it's not my full name is Twitter because of character limitation. So it's just an Ashbaugh there. All right. Thank you, everybody, today. If I haven't said it, I appreciate you. And don't worry. Like I really, when it came to the chat earlier, I just wanted to sort of say these are channeled messages. So when I was saying things like tempering emotions was important, when someone says, no, it isn't, I was like, no, it actually had to do with when and where and how. And that's all I was trying to do was contextualize. So sometimes I get distracted. So I'm going to do my best to not pay attention to chat moving forward, because sometimes it takes me out of it. And there's so much that I want to share with you. So hopefully that didn't get in the way. In the meantime, thank you so much. It was great to see everybody today. I will be back again on Monday. Wishing you much love and light. In the meantime, an amazing October for those of you that are watching it live, and a great November, because this was for November. Everybody take care of yourselves. I love and appreciate you. I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.